Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are doing something a little different. We aren't just unpacking a story, we are heading into an environment that is so hostile, so oppressive, that the weather itself becomes the main villain.
He really does.
We are heading into the cold, and I don't mean a brisk autumn chill or a meet a sweater kind of day. I mean a bone-deep, relentless psychological freeze that locks the world down for 6 months at a time.
It is definitely time to bundle up for this one. We are looking at a narrative where the temperature isn't just a setting, it's a force that shapes human character and, well, destroys it.
We are traveling to a fictional village called Starkfield, Massachusetts. And honestly, the name alone, Starkfield, tells you almost everything you need to know, doesn't it?
It really sets the tone immediately.
It's not Happy Valley or Sunnybrook, it is Stark. It is a place where the winter shuts down life. It's a place where the snow isn't just a weather event, it's like a lid on a coffin.
That is a perfect description. And under that lid, in this frozen village, we are focusing on one specific tragic figure. A man who is described in our source material with one of the most haunting phrases in American literature: the ruin of a man.
That phrase stuck with me from the moment I read the notes. The ruin of a man. It implies he wasn't always this way, right? It
Yeah.
implies a collapse.
Exactly. The narrator of the story, who's an outsider, tells us about seeing this man, Ethan Frome, for the first time. He's towering, he's striking, he has this careless, powerful look.
Yeah.
But he's broken.
He's broken.
He drags himself along. The text says his lameness checks each step like the jerk of a chain.
That jerk of a chain simile is so brutal.
It is.
It's visceral. It tells you immediately that he's not just injured, he's tethered. He is a prisoner in his own body and a prisoner in this town.
Precisely. And the locals, the people who have lived in Starkfield their whole lives, they don't really talk about him much. There's this heavy silence around him.
A conspiracy of silence, almost?
Almost. And when they do mention him, they refer to this smash-up.
The smash-up.
Yeah.
That is the central mystery that drives this entire deep dive. You see this guy, Ethan Frome. He's barely walking. He has a red gash across his forehead that turns angry when he's emotional.
A permanent scar.
His body is warped. And you find out this smash-up happened 24 years ago.
24 years, just let that sink in. A quarter of a century living in that state.
And that prompts the question, why?
Right. The question isn't just what happened. The question is, why is he still here?
Yes. As the source material explicitly says, most of the smart ones get away. Starkfield is a place of mental starvation. If you have ambition, if you have brains, you leave. You go to the city, you go west.
It's a dead end.
So why did Ethan Frome, who we learn was actually quite brilliant, stay in this frozen hellscape for a quarter of a century?
That is exactly what we are going to unpack. We are doing a deep dive into Edith Wharton's 1911 masterpiece, Ethan Frome.
A masterpiece of gloom, I would say.
An absolute masterpiece of gloom. But we aren't just looking at the book. We are also going to pull in some context from her other short stories, like The Pretext, Afterward, and Jingu, to understand the bigger picture.
The Wharton universe, so to speak.
I like that. We want to understand how environment shapes and destroys the human spirit.
Now, I have to be honest, I think a lot of people have this idea as Ethan Frome as just a tragic romance, the high school English class version.
Oh, absolutely.
Sad guy, sick wife, pretty cousin, bad sled ride. The end.
Right, the Cliff's Notes version where it's just a love triangle gone wrong. A simple, sad story.
Exactly. But our mission today is to shatter that view. This isn't just a romance. In fact, I'd argue the romance is almost secondary.
I would agree with that completely.
This is a brutal examination of isolation, duty, and what happens when you are trapped by your own conscience. It's about the granite reality of rural New England.
And to understand that granite reality, we have to start with the architect of this frozen world, Edith Wharton herself.
Yeah.
And this is where the research you pulled really surprised me. Because when I think of gritty, dirt-poor, frozen farm life, I do not think of Edith Wharton.
No, not at all. That was the biggest shock for me in the source material. We are talking about Edith Newbold Jones, born in 1862 into immense, staggering wealth.
We are talking about the family that literally inspired the phrase, keeping up with the Joneses.
Wait, seriously, that phrase is about her family. I thought that was just a myth.
Not a myth. That is her family. Her aunts and uncles were the trendsetters of New York high society. She grew up in brownstones with ballrooms. She toured Europe as a child.
So she's the original Gossip Girl, basically.
In a way, yes. She lived in mansions in Newport. She is famous for chronicling the ultra-rich in books like The Age of Innocence and The House of Mirth. Her world was silk dresses and opera boxes.
So you have to ask, why on earth did a woman of such immense privilege write a story about a dirt-poor, crippled farmer in a drafty shack?
It feels like a total disconnect, doesn't it?
It does feel that way at first glance. It almost feels like poverty tourism. Like a rich woman looking out her carriage window and saying, "Oh, look at the poor people, how quaint and sad."
Exactly. It feels like she shouldn't know anything about this life. It feels like an exercise in fiction, not empathy.
But hear the nuance that the sources provide. Wharton didn't just stay in New York. She lived in Lenox, Massachusetts, at her estate called the Mount.
A beautiful place, by the way, if you ever get the chance to visit.
I've seen pictures. And while she had her beautiful gardens and her wealthy friends coming for tea, she was also observing the world outside her gates. She was an early adopter of the motor car.
She was a driver. I didn't know that.
She loved motor flights, as she called them. She would drive through the surrounding hills of the Berkshires, and she saw what she called the derelict mountain villages.
So she wasn't just staying in her bubble.
Not at all. She saw the poverty, yes, but she saw something worse. She saw the mental starvation of the people living there.
Mental starvation. That is a haunting phrase. It suggests that the isolation was actually shrinking their minds.
Yes. It's not just a lack of money. It's a lack of ideas, of connection, of stimulation.
She saw that the isolation was driving people insane. But, and this is the key insight, Ethan Frome isn't just observation, it's projection.
Projection. You mean she saw herself in Ethan Frome? The rich socialite saw herself in the poor farmer. That seems like a stretch.
It sounds like it, but yes. At the time she wrote this, around 1911, Wharton was trapped. She was in a deeply unhappy, disastrous marriage to Edward Teddy Wharton.
What was the dynamic there? I don't know much about her personal life.
It was difficult. Teddy was mentally unstable. He suffered from severe depression and what was then called neurasthenia. He was sickly. He was also embezzling from her trust fund.
Wow.
He was draining her funds and her emotional energy. She felt intellectually starved and emotionally frozen in that marriage.
And meanwhile?
Meanwhile, she was having a passionate, illicit affair with a journalist named Morton Fullerton, her one great love by most accounts.
Okay, let's look at the checklist. You have the frozen, dutiful marriage to a sickly spouse who drains your energy.
Yeah.
And you have the secret, passionate affair that represents life and warmth.
Double check.
That sounds suspiciously like the plot of Ethan Frome.
It mirrors the plot almost perfectly. Ethan is Wharton. The financial poverty in the book is a metaphor for her emotional poverty. The frozen landscape is a metaphor for her frozen marriage.
So it's an autobiography of the soul.
That's a great way to put it. She's not looking down on Ethan Frome. She is identifying with the feeling of being trapped in a house with a dying marriage.
That adds such a layer of depth. It changes the whole reading experience. It's not just a study of rural socioeconomics. It's a scream from the author's own psyche.
A very quiet, controlled New England scream.
Right, but she was also doing something literary here, wasn't she? She was fighting against a certain type of storytelling that was popular at the time?
Correct. She was pushing back against the local color movement.
Local color. Explain that for us.
Think of writers like Sarah Orne Jewett or Mary Wilkins Freeman. These were writers who wrote very popular stories about New England life. But Wharton, well, she kind of hated them.
Hated them? That's a strong word. Why? They were writing about the same setting.
She felt they looked at New England through rose-colored spectacles. She thought they focused too much on the sweet fern and asters, the cute botanical side of the countryside.
The quaint stuff.
Quaint dialects, the kindly neighbors bringing over apple pie, the simple, noble farmer.
The Hallmark movie version of New England.
Exactly. Wharton felt this was a lie, a dangerous lie. She felt they ignored the granite outcroppings.
Granite outcroppings. I love that phrase.
She wanted to show the harsh, psychological reality, the silent, grim, maddening side of New England. She wanted to show that the landscape doesn't just look pretty, it crushes you, it isolates you, it drives you mad.
And boy, does she succeed. Let's talk about how she sets this up. The structure of the book is really interesting because we don't get Ethan's story directly at first. We don't start with, once upon a time, Ethan was young.
No, we don't. We get a frame narrative. The story is told by an outsider, an engineer, who is stuck in Starkfield because of a strike.
Which I love because he's like us. He's the listener. He's the reader. He doesn't belong there. He's trying to figure out this alien world.
Exactly. He is the detective. He has to piece the story together from gaps in the gossip. He talks to locals like Harmon Gow and Mrs. Ned Hale, But they are reticent.
They clam up.
They don't want to talk about the smash-up. They just give little hints. So the narrator has to vision the story. It gives the whole thing this legendary, almost ghostly quality.
And one of the first things this narrator notices, and this is a detail I found fascinating in your notes, is the house.
Ethan's house.
The house is a character in itself, absolutely.
It is, and specifically the architectural detail of the L. Now, I've seen old farmhouses, but I never really thought about the function of the L. Can you explain this for anyone who hasn't spent a winter in rural Massachusetts? This is crucial to understanding Ethan's poverty and his isolation. In traditional New England farm architecture, the L is the wing that connects the main house to the barn. It forms an L shape.
So it's just a hallway.
It's much more than a hallway. It's a conditioned working space, a shed, a utility room, a wood storage area. Its primary function is to allow the farmer to go from the warmth of the kitchen stove to the livestock in the barn without ever stepping outside into the snow.
It's a lifeline. It's a tunnel of warmth. It's your connection to your work, your animals, your livelihood.
Exactly. It represents connection, nourishment, and protection against the elements. It proves that the farmer has the resources to shield himself.
And Ethan's house.
The L has been removed.
It's gone.
It's gone. Ethan explains to the narrator that he had to take it down years ago, maybe for lumber, maybe for firewood, maybe because it was rotting and he couldn't afford to fix it. The reason is almost irrelevant.
So the house is physically disconnected from the barn. He has to go outside.
Every single time. Correct. The house looks stunted and forlorn, and the narrator explicitly makes the connection. The house is a mirror of Ethan.
The ruin of a house for the ruin of a man.
Precisely. Ethan is shrunken, the protective layer has been stripped away, he is exposed to the elements in a way a successful farmer isn't.
That is such a brilliant, depressing detail. It's not just that he's poor, it's that the very architecture of his life is broken. He has to walk out into the freezing cold just to feed his animals. Every chore is a battle.
Every single day is a fight against the cold that a more prosperous man wouldn't have to face.
And that sets the atmosphere for everything that follows. Starkfield isn't just cold, it's silent. Ethan is described as mute, an incarnation of the frozen woe.
The silence is a character, too.
It really is, and there's this contrast the sources mention between the crystal and the deadness.
Yes, this is Wharton at her best. She is very careful to describe the landscape as beautiful. It's sparkling snow, blue shadows, points of the dipper hanging like icicles.
It sounds lovely.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But that beauty is deadly. It's a force that slows the pulse. The town is described as a starved garrison. The cold isn't just weather, it's an active antagonist in the story. It dulls the brain. It makes effort feel impossible.
It saps your will to live.
It literally freezes your ambition.
So we have the setting, a frozen trap. Now let's meet the prisoners. The triangle of misery.
And misery is the right word. There's not a lot of joy in this house.
Let's start with Ethan. We know he's the ruin later, but in the main story, the flashback, he's a young man. And he's not just a simple farmer, is he?
No, and that's the tragedy. If he were just a simple man who loved the soil, maybe he would be happy. Maybe this life would be enough. But he's a man of thwarted potential.
How so?
He studied at a technological college in Worcester for a year. He wanted to be an engineer. He wanted to live in a town with libraries and fellows doing things.
He wanted a life of the mind. He wanted stimulation. He was curious about the world.
He did. He's sensitive. There's this beautiful passage where he looks at the stars and compares them to swarming bees. He sees the huge cloudy meanings behind the daily face of things.
So he's a poet.
He has the soul of a poet or a scientist, but he's caught in what we might call the duty trap.
The duty trap. Let's unpack that. How did he get stuck? It seems like it happened so gradually he didn't even notice.
It happened slowly, then all at once. First, his father had an accident, went soft in the brain. Ethan had to come back from college to run the farm.
So he puts his dreams on hold.
Oh.
Temporarily, he thinks.
Exactly. But then his mother got sick. She went queer and silent. She just stopped talking for years, and he had to nurse her.
He couldn't just leave her.
He couldn't. So he gave up his education, his future, to care for his parents. One by one, the escape routes closed.
And when his mother died, he was left in that silent house in the middle of winter.
And the silence of that farmhouse was so oppressive, so terrifying, that he was afraid of being alone. He married the first person who brought a voice into it.
Enter Zenobia, or Xena.
Xena Frome. Originally his cousin who came to nurse his mother.
Yeah, Xena is, well, in the pantheon of literary villains, she's pretty unique. She's often cast as the Wicked Witch. But Her method of villainy is very specific.
She is a complex antagonist. It's too simple to just call her a villain. She's 7 years older than Ethan, and her power comes from one thing: sickness.
She's a professional hypochondriac.
That is the perfect way to put it. The source material calls it a sickly power. Now, we don't know for sure if her illness is real or psychosomatic, and frankly, it doesn't matter.
Why not?
Because what matters is that she uses it like a weapon.
It's her currency, her control mechanism.
Exactly. If Ethan argues with her, she gets shooting pains. If he wants to spend money on farming equipment or a new horse, suddenly she needs a new doctor or expensive stomach powders. She holds her health hostage to get her way.
And the description of her, Wharton really leans into the anti-romance here. She makes her physically repellent.
Oh, it's brutal. The high-boned face, the puckered throat, the flat whine of her voice, and the detail that always gets me: the false teeth in the tumbler by the bed.
Ugh. It's so unerotic. It's the death of desire. It's so specific and so real.
But the key insight here is that Xena dominates through silence and observation. She isn't loud, she doesn't scream.
She's not a shrew.
No, she's watchful. The text says she is secreted from the long years of silent brooding. She sits in the kitchen, rocking, observing. She knows everything that is happening, but she rarely says it outright.
Which makes her terrifying. She's like a spider in the web of that house. You never know what she knows, so you're always walking on eggshells.
Exactly. So you have Ethan, the dreamer trapped in duty, and Xena, the warden of the prison who controls him with guilt and illness. And then into this gray, silent, dying world comes Maddie Silver.
Maddie Silver, the catalyst, the spark.
Maddie is Xena's cousin. She's another orphan. There are a lot of broken families in this story. Her father died, leaving the family in financial ruin, and she's essentially indentured to the Fromes.
Indentured is the right word. She's not really paid, is she?
No, she works as a housekeeper for no pay, just room and board. She has nowhere else to go.
But, and this is important, she is not a good housekeeper.
She is a terrible housekeeper. She forgets to put the key under the mat. She burns the food. She breaks things. She's dreamy and inefficient.
Which you would think would annoy Ethan, since he's already stressed and overworked.
But it's the opposite. Her inefficiency is part of her charm because it means she's not like Xena. Xena is efficient and cold and perfect in her domestic duties. Maddie is messy and warm.
She's human.
She's human, and she brings color. The text hits us over the head with this color symbolism.
It's not subtle, but it's effective.
It really is. In this black and white world of snow and slate, Maddie wears a cherry-colored scarf. She puts a crimson ribbon in her hair. She's the only splash of red, of blood, of life in Ethan's world.
But it's not just that she's pretty. You mentioned earlier that Ethan feels mute with Xena. He has no one to share his thoughts with.
And Maddie listens. That is the ultimate seduction for Ethan. It's not just physical attraction, though. That's there, too. It's that when he shows her the stars, she looks up.
She sees what he sees.
She validates his inner life, the part of him that Xena ignores completely. With Maddie, he isn't just a nursemaid or a farmhand. He's a man with thoughts and feelings. He feels seen for the first time in years.
So the stage is set. You have the husband, the wife, and the cousin. The tension is building, and then comes the breaking point. And surprisingly, the climax of this domestic drama revolves around a pickle dish.
The red glass pickle dish. It's such a mundane object to carry so much weight.
But that's Wharton's genius, isn't it? The biggest tragedies are often contained in the smallest, most domestic things. Okay, let's set the scene. Xena leaves the house.
A rare occurrence. Xena decides she needs to go to Bethsbridge to see a new doctor. She's going to spend the night.
Which is a big deal.
A huge deal. This involves spending Ethan's scarce money, which stresses him out immensely, but it also gives him and Maddie one night alone.
The one night. The dream scenario.
And Ethan enters a state of total delusion. He imagines a life where they are a married couple. He comes home from hauling wood, and the kitchen looks home-like, just because Xena isn't there.
Just her absence transforms the space.
It does. And Maddie has set the table. She's put on the crimson ribbon, and she wanted to make the table look pretty, so she took down the pickle dish.
The forbidden pickle dish.
This is a heavy symbol. The red pickle dish was a wedding present to Xena.
From an aunt in Philadelphia, right? It was her one fancy thing.
Yes. And Xena never used it. She kept it on the high shelf of the china closet. It was too precious to touch.
Which is such a perfect metaphor for their marriage.
Precisely. It was kept on a shelf, purely for show, never used, never enjoyed, cold and distant. It was a status symbol, not a vessel for nourishment.
It's a dead object representing a dead marriage.
And Maddie takes it down to hold pickles for Ethan. She tries to bring life and utility to it. She tries to make the marriage vessel serve love.
And then the cat.
The cat. Puss. The cat is fascinating because it acts almost like Xena's familiar, her little spy.
It really does. It jumps into Xena's chair. It watches them. It's like Xena left a spy camera. It's this constant, unsettling presence.
And as they're sitting down, the cat is chasing its tail, and it backs into the pickle dish and knocks it over. Shattered into a dozen pieces on the floor.
And Maddie falls apart. She's terrified.
She knows what this means. This isn't just a broken dish. It's a violation of Xena's sanctuary. It's symbolic adultery. They broke the marriage contract.
And Ethan, in a moment of desperate heroics, gathers the pieces. He tries to glue it.
He does, and when he can't, he stacks them on the shelf so they look whole from the outside.
Oh, that's just heartbreaking.
He tries to glue the marriage back together. He tries to maintain the facade. If I just stack the pieces, maybe she won't notice it's broken. It's heartbreakingly pathetic.
But the dish is broken, the damage is done. And even though Xena is gone, her presence haunts that kitchen.
Completely. Ethan looks at Xena's empty rocking chair, and the cat jumps in it and sets it rocking. Spectral rocking, the text calls it. He can't escape her, even when she's miles away.
So the night passes. And listeners, if you're expecting a steamy romance scene here, you will be disappointed.
Deeply disappointed.
Nothing physical really happens, which is important to note. They just sit by the stove.
He holds the fabric she's sewing. He kisses the fabric. He doesn't even kiss her hand. It's a tragedy of unfulfilled longing. Ethan is too bound by his own inhibition and duty to actually cross the line.
He lives it all in his head.
Completely. And then the Empire strikes back. Xena returns.
And she returns with a vengeance. She comes back with a new diagnosis. Complications.
Complications.
Oh.
It's so vague and so threatening.
It's the ultimate trump card. It covers everything and means nothing.
And the prescription for these complications? She needs a hired girl, a professional. Someone strong enough to do the housework that Maddie is too weak to do.
Which means
Maddie must go. Immediately. To make room for the new girl.
this scene, the confrontation in the bedroom, is brutal. Ethan tries to fight back. He finally finds his voice.
He does. It's the first open fight they've had in 7 years. But Xena is relentless. She reveals that she has already hired the new girl.
So it's not a negotiation.
It's a decree. She's arriving tomorrow. Maddie's being displaced. It's a done deal.
And Xena knows, doesn't she? She knows about the feelings between them. She must.
Oh, she knows. She doesn't say it, but every word is loaded. When she speaks, she dismisses Maddie as a pauper. And when Ethan tries to argue about money, saying he can't afford a hired girl, Xena turns it back on him with lethal precision.
What does she say?
She says essentially, you grudge me the money to get my health back when I lost my health nursing your mother.
That is checkmate. Game over.
It is. Ethan is impotent against that argument. He wants to rebel. He goes downstairs to his study, which is just a cold corner of the house, and thinks about the story of a man who left his wife and went west.
He dreams of escape.
He wants to run away with Maddie.
So why doesn't he? This is the moment the modern listener screams at the podcast. Just go, Ethan. Leave her.
He sits down to write the letter to Xena. I'm going west. But then reality hits. He looks at the newspaper. He looks at the cost of the train fare. He has no money, not a dime.
It always comes down to money.
He realizes if he leaves, Xena will be destitute. The farm is mortgaged to the hilt. He's a prisoner of his poverty, yes, but also his conscience. He cannot bring himself to leave a sick woman to starve, even if he hates her.
That's the cruelty of it. He's too good a man to do the selfish thing that would save him.
His own morality is part of the trap. And then comes the final blow. Xena goes to the kitchen for her stomach powders. She climbs up to get them.
From the top of the china closet.
And she finds the broken pickle dish.
The scene where she carries the broken pieces back into the room, it's like she's carrying a dead body.
That is exactly how the text describes it, the fragments. She looks at them and says, you wanted to make the supper table pretty, and you took from me the one thing I cared for most of all.
Wow, not one of the things. The one thing.
It confirms that her emotional capacity is tied to objects, not people. She loves the dish more than she could ever love Ethan or Maddie.
And she calls Maddie a bad girl. It's the final judgment. Maddie is expelled from the garden.
Exactly. The fall from grace is complete.
So we come to the descent, the sled ride. Xena has decreed Maddie must leave. Jotham Powell, the hired man, is supposed to take her to the train, but Ethan insists on driving her himself.
This is his last act of defiance, the final drive. And on the way, they make a detour.
The Shadow Pond.
The place where they once had a church picnic. where Ethan found her lost locket. It's the site of their only happy memory.
It's a pilgrimage to the past because they have no future.
And they finally say it. They acknowledge they love each other. Openly.
But it's too late.
It is. They also acknowledge the hopelessness of it. Maddie says, "I wish I was dead." She'd rather die than leave him and go out into the cold world alone, where she has no skills and no money.
And this leads to the suicide pact. They decide to go coasting, sledding down the hill near the church, the Corbury Road.
Now remember, earlier in the story, this hill was mentioned. The big elm at the bottom. It's dangerous. The deadly elbow. It's a place where accidents happen.
So the elm tree's been looming in the background this whole time.
It's Chekhov's elm tree. And Maddie's idea is simple. Go down the hill, hit the tree, never part.
It's a desperate, romantic, horrific idea. And Ethan agrees he's intoxicated by it.
He is. The description of the coast is incredibly sensory. The air sings like an organ. The fiery wires, they're hurtling towards oblivion.
They do it once, and it's thrilling. But they survive, and they decide to go again, this time for real.
This time he's going to steer directly into the tree.
They are flying down the hill, they are aiming for the tree, and then the vision.
This is the detail that changes everything. At the very last second, as the tree is rushing up, Ethan sees a face.
Zena's face?
He sees Zena's face with twisted, monstrous lineaments thrusting itself between him and his goal.
Is it a hallucination? A memory? His conscience?
It's his guilt. It's the realization that he can never truly escape her. Even in death, she is there. And instinctively, his body reacts. He swerves, just a fraction.
And that swerve is the difference between death and
Yeah.
something much worse.
He hits the tree, but he doesn't hit it squarely enough to kill them instantly.
And this brings us to the twist. And folks, if you haven't read the book, this is the part that haunts you forever. This is the smash up.
It really is one of the most devastating reveals in literature.
The story jumps back to the Frame narrative. The outsider engineer is entering the house with Ethan 24 years later. We've been wondering this whole time. Who is in the house? Who is the woman droning in the kitchen?
You expect it to be Xena. The complaining, whining voice must be Xena.
Right. You expect the old witch to still be there, still complaining?
The narrator walks in. He sees a tall, bony woman preparing the meal. That's Xena. She's old, she's grim, but she's standing. She's functional.
Okay. So Xena survived.
But then he sees a chair. In the chair is a crippled, whining, querulous woman. A woman with a witch-like stare. A woman whose body is twisted and broken.
And that woman is Maddie.
It's Maddie. They didn't die, they were smashed. Maddie suffered a spinal injury. She is paralyzed, and over the last 24 years, she has soured. She has become exactly like Xena.
That is the horrific irony. The vibrant girl with the red scarf has turned into a sour, complaining invalid, the very thing he was trying to escape.
He just traded one for another. And Xena, this is the twist that blows my mind. The sickly Xena, who couldn't lift a finger, miraculously found the strength to nurse them both for 20 years.
She became the caretaker. She got better when they got worse.
She did. Once she had her patience, once she had total dominance and they were helpless, she found the energy to run the house. Her hypochondria vanished when she needed to be in charge.
So the three of them are locked in that kitchen. Forever.
A life and death existence. There is a quote from Mrs. Ned Hale at the end that sums it up perfectly. She says,
Let me see if I have it here. Yeah, she says, it's not sees there's much difference between the Fromes up at the farm and the Fromes down in the graveyard, except that down there they're all quiet and the women have got to hold their tongues.
Chills. Every time.
Absolute chills. The tragedy isn't that they died, it's that they didn't.
Exactly. It's the denial of death. It's a hell where three people who hate each other, who are bound by guilt and resentment, are locked together in a small kitchen while the snow piles up outside.
It's unbelievable, and it really connects back to that idea of environment as destiny. The snow and the isolation created this tragedy just as much as the characters did.
They preserved it. The winter basically put their misery on ice. And this theme of frozen lives isn't unique to Ethan Frome. If we look at the broader connections in Wharton's work, as we promised, we see this pattern repeating.
Right, the source mentions stories like the Pretext and Afterward. How do these fit in? Are they just as grim?
The Pretext is fascinating. It's set in the university town Wentworth. So not a poor farm, but a place of rigid New England ancestry. Another kind of frozen environment.
Intellectually frozen, maybe?
Precisely. And the protagonist, Mrs. Ransom, is a middle-aged woman who thinks a young Englishman loves her. She has this brief moment of awakening of spring after a long winter.
That it's not real.
It's not. She realizes later that she was just a pretext, an excuse he used to cover up his real affair with a younger woman.
So she was living in a delusion.
Just like Ethan was delusional about his life with Maddie, she realizes her life is flat as the pattern of the wallpaper. It's another frozen life, just in a different setting. Wharton is obsessed with the idea that we trap ourselves in these delusions to survive the boredom.
And Afterward. That's a ghost story, right? A bit of a genre shift for her.
It is. A couple moves to an isolated house in England. The wife, Mary, thinks they are happy. But long afterward, she realizes her husband had a dark secret. He cheated a business partner who then committed suicide.
And the ghost comes for him.
The ghost comes. But the real horror, Wharton argues, is the afterward. The realization. Just like in Ethan Frome, the smash-up isn't the end. The horror is the 24 years that follow.
The aftermath.
The horror is living with the knowledge of what happened. It's the endurance of tragedy.
It seems like Wharton is obsessed with the idea of the delayed horror, the tragedy that you have to live through day after day after day.
She is. She deconstructs the idea of the dramatic ending. In real life, she says, you don't always get the release of death. You get the grind of endurance.
But she could also be funny about it, right? The source mentions Xingu. That sounds completely different.
Oh, Xingu is a delight.
Huh?
It's a satire. It's her showing she has a sharp, witty side. It mocks the culture bands, these clubs of women who try to be intellectual.
I love her line about them pursuing culture in bands as though it were dangerous to meet alone.
Exactly. They talk about Xingu thinking it's some deep philosophy, some esoteric text, but it turns out to be a river in Brazil.
That's hilarious. They're totally exposed as frauds.
It shows her range. She could critique the silence of Starkfield, but she could also critique the empty chatter of high society. Both are forms of stagnation. Both are ways of avoiding reality.
Whether you're staring at the snow or staring at a map of a river you don't understand, you are missing real life.
That's a perfect summary of it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Ethan Frome, what are the big takeaways? What should you, our listener, really hold on to from this?
I think first that this is a story about environment. We cannot separate Ethan's fate from the Starkfield winter. The cold isolates them. It preserves their misery, like ice preserves a mammoth. The environment is the architect of the tragedy.
It's determinism in a way. He was doomed by geography.
In many ways, yes. And second.
The second for me is how it deconstructs the romantic myth. Love conquers all is the standard trope.
It's what we want to believe.
In Ethan Frome, poverty and duty conquer love. The granite reality wins. You can't eat love. You can't heat a house with love. It's a brutal reality check.
It's a sobering thought. It truly is.
And here is the provocative thought I want to leave you with, listeners. We tend to see Xena as the villain. She's the witch, the hypochondriac, the barrier. But let's look at the facts.
Lex?
Ethan tried to kill her cousin. He tried to abandon her destitute. He emotionally cheated on her right in front of her face. And when the smash-up happened, Xena took them in.
She did. She stepped up.
She took in the woman who tried to steal her husband. She cared for them for 20 years. She scrubbed the floors. She cooked the meals.
She did her duty in the end.
So is Xena the villain? Or is she the only one who actually did her duty? Is she, in some twisted way, the hero of the story?
It's a disturbing question. She fed them. She clothed them. She endured. But she also fed on their misery. She regained her strength only when they lost theirs. It's a parasitic kind of heroism, if it is heroism at all.
That final image, the three of them in the kitchen, the heat of the stove, the drone of Maddie's complaining voice, the silence of the snow outside. Who is the true victim in that farmhouse?
That is something I will be thinking about for a long time.
Me too. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the frozen world of Edith Wharton. Stay warm out there.
And watch out for the elm tree.
See you next time.